The following program is recommended for mature individuals and may contain material unsuitable for morons, cretins, and dishwipes. If you are a moron or a member of the PTL club, please turn off your radio, because we don't need any more stupid, narrow-minded, pencil-neck geeks who wouldn't know the First Amendment if it came up and bit them on the butt. Thank you.
You're listening to Reality 101. Be prepared for the truth.
Suck it! Okay, welcome to the Reality 101 show. You're going to want to stick around for this one, folks, because we're not going to be playing games here. This is going out to all the protesters at Ferguson and anywhere else in the nation that the police have become unruly and unreasonable.
Go throw your clothes out in the corner, you know you won't need them until morning. You know you look much better that way, ain't that nice?
Yeah, our featured band today is the Fender Benders, and they are out of Joliet, Illinois. They have done a lot of work in the area, a lot of community service as well. I know the singers, actually the entire band. I've spent a lot of time with them, and we do thank them for giving us permission or to use it for promotional purposes and any other use that we would care to use it for. You know, the biggest thing that they're talking about here, you probably would be able to figure out. Yeah, well, fact is, that's what the police are asking us to do almost every day, is to take care of them and to give up our rights. And I just kind of felt that this would be a good way in order to start out this show. Today we're going to be researching a little bit of the actual laws that are being violated. Now, I will let you know that the Ferguson police as well as the St. Louis County Police have been all pulled in order to, well, take a look at the Constitution once again. And my concern is the fact that instead of looking at the Constitution and following it, they're being taught ways of abrogating it or going around your rights, and to get rid of your rights as quickly as possible by your consent. And that is the only way that they can do this. And before they get out the local statutes and say, oh, well, we have a law for this, etc., so forth, we need to actually look at what the law is directly after the Constitution. And we've done this by looking up a law called 18 U.S.C. 242. It states, whoever under the color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any person in the state of territory, commonwealth, possession, or district of deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities. Did you know that you have immunity against their action? Whether they are taking a due process of legal process to violate your rights or otherwise, you have immunity to these actions. And what happens if they do infringe upon your rights? Well, let's read on further. Or by different punishments, pains, or penalties on account of such a person being an alien, or by reason of color, race, then other than prescribed but for the punishment of the citizens shall be fined under this title. Now, a lot of people want to stop and focus on the fact that it mentions color or race. That's just specific prejudice that they may have, and the fact that that has nothing to do with this law, because the law clearly states any person, regardless of color and race. So don't get hung up on the fact that it says that, because a lot of the protesters and stuff are now focusing that this is a race issue. It is not. It is a fact that a police officer can get and shoot, or a police officer can restrict a person's rights. And that is the first fault, and that's what we really need to stick with here. So, what can happen to these police officers? Okay, well, they shall be fined or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. Well, what is inherent about a police officer is the fact that they are, well, armed. So what happens if the armed police officer, under the color of law, acts illegally against you? Well, the charges are upped a little bit. Let's see what that is. If bodily injury results in the acts commission in violation of this section, or if such acts include, and pay attention here, attempted use or threatened use of a dangerous weapon, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. And if death results from the act committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or attempt to kidnap. Kidnapping is an illegal arrest, folks. That's what they're doing, and an illegal arrest is a kidnap. Results from the acts committed in this violation of this section of aggravated sexual abuse or attempted to commit aggravated sexual abuse, strip search, or attempt to kill shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years or for life, or both. They can even be sentenced to death. So bring it on. We have the law. Did they tell you about this one?
That's what we call taking care of the law, man.
Taking care of little Elvis, baby. All right. Fender benders. But hey, did they tell you about that? When you're a police officer out there patrolling the streets or following their orders, are you aware that you're out there putting your butt on the line while they sit behind a comfortable desk and depend on you to violate the law? You can be imprisoned for the act of kidnapping, which is an illegal arrest, for your entire lifetime. Is that what the people want? No, that isn't what we're complaining about. But that is the law that you're breaking. We need to think about that. And again, before anyone sits there and says, oh yeah, well, the feds won't do nothing. Well, did you show them your crayon-colored sign recently? Well, that ought to make them do something, right? It does. It makes them laugh at you. Because the police officer is following a legal due process. They create an affidavit. They file it in public record. You're under arrest. You did nothing. Nothing. We now have leaders in this protest encouraging protesters to go to expensive, high-class malls and annoying the people there by shouting and disturbing them. And they are getting arrested. And they're scratching their heads, but we have a right. No, you don't have a right. You do not have a right to infringe upon other people's rights. That's what the whole idea of rights are. If you do not have a victim to a crime, there is no crime. If you have exercised your rights, or even claim to exercise your right, it cannot be converted into a crime. If you infringe upon someone else's rights, it becomes a crime, but arguable in a court of law. The person that you have infringed upon has filed a complaint verbally or in writing to a police officer, if this complaint is not converted into writing when you get to court, there is no affidavit, and the charges lawfully should be thrown out. But they're not, because you have not been told that you must claim that right in court, that you must make the argument in court. The lawyers are not going to do it for you. The judge is not going to do it for you, and the prosecutor is definitely not going to do it for you. Because the laws that they are facing, if they have found in violation, will put them in jail. So, what can you do about it? That's what this whole thing is about today. This is why I'm making this particular episode. So let's take a look at the actual case law, and when someone actually makes this claim in court, what the results are. Well, let's look at Bennett versus Boggs. Statutes that violate the plain and obvious principles of common right and common reason are null and void. They don't exist, folks. Would we not say that these judicial decisions are straight to the point? That there is no lawful method for the government to put restrictions or limitations on rights belonging to the people. Other cases are even more straightforward. The assertion of a federal right, when plainly and reasonably made, is not to be defeated under the name of practice. That doesn't say local practice. That just means the practice of the law. It will not be defeated. That's where they're getting you, folks. That's where the problem is. That's where the short circuit is. That's the reason why our system is not working. They do not react to you screaming in the street. We've lost the point of doing it. To protest is in order to get the sympathy of those in the community, to bring their awareness, so they may also file a complaint. Now, let's look at who can file a complaint. A short while ago, it was considered the fact that the only way that you could file a complaint is if you were directly affected by the statute in some way and faced a criminal action, that you could be damaged from that action, and now you have a right to file a complaint. This has been overturned recently, in the last 8 to 10 months. It was decided after a company or a group of people was criminally charged, and these people raised the stakes and took them to federal court, challenging the statute. The prosecutor in the case says, oh my God, they're going to challenge the statute and they're going to win in court. I need to drop the charges, and then they can do nothing about it. Well, the court decided that if these people were to remain under duress, that they had every right in order to challenge that statute, whether they were being charged with it or not. So you do not need to be directly affected by the actions of the police anymore. So if you were sitting at home and you felt compelled to go out and join these people in the street, protesting, to bring community awareness, and you felt a civic obligation to do so, but you were so intimidated by the police firing bullets, rubber bullets and tear gas at an otherwise peaceful crowd, and cameraman and the press were trying to restrict their rights, guess what, folks? You were intimidated not to exercise your right through intimidation. If your rights are blocked through intimidation, you have a valid complaint. You need to go down to the federal courthouse. Question comes to mind. Civil rights movement. The last time the nation stood up in a racially charged atmosphere, and it still had nothing to do with race. It was lopsided. The enforcement of the law was lopsided in favor of one class, which is illegal to even define a class, or person against another. And people got tired of this lopsided enforcement of the law. That is what happened in the 50s and the 60s. Martin Luther King helped bring public awareness, showing all the atrocities from public protests to bring sympathy to the cause. But how did he win? He won in court. He took these people that were criminally acting, and he won in court. We cannot win using crayon posters in the street, folks. It is not possible. The people will not do anything except bring public awareness. So when you go out to the mall and you're disturbing people, souring their day rather than getting their sympathy, are you not doing exactly the opposite of what protesting is all about? You're hurting the cause. And people have very carefully worked their way into the leadership position of these protesters in order to do exactly that, hurt the cause. The one thing they will not do and the one thing they will not promote is for you to go down to the federal courthouse, to the FBI. The FBI is the ones that go out and have the authority to arrest a public official. As a matter of fact, any law enforcement agency or agent or person can do that. Even you can actually file the proper paperwork and arrest a politician. Good luck. You've got a lot of work against, and you've got a lot of trained people in order to try to bypass. But it's easier to call upon these trained people, the FBI, the federal marshals, that are charged with upholding this very law. You can actually go to the FBI website and find their charter is to uphold this law. It is posted on the FBI website. So why aren't they more active? Because you have not filed a complaint with them. Out of the 1,000-man protest that we had recently, and all the events that surrounds Ferguson, there has only been 12 civil complaints that have been made public filed. 12. How many hundreds of people have been affected, not only in Ferguson, but nationwide, in support of the effort in Ferguson to bring public awareness? And only 12 are publicly known to have filed a complaint. This is not no small complaint. They're $50 million each for a simple civil violation. Single instances of $50 million each. I think that's going to have a real impact if they lose these cases. But if that is the case, what reaction are they going to have when they have a mere 100 people show up at the federal courthouse to go to the floor that houses the federal marshals, to go to the floor that houses the FBI, to form a 100-person line going straight out the door, starting at the elevators? What are they going to do? They're going to shut it down. They're going to shut it down without even a second thought. The federal judges have sent messages recently. The only thing they want is a complaint in front of them, and they will help us. The illegal spying on our cell phones can no longer be done. The stingers have been decided unconstitutional. But no one has filed a direct complaint on that based on the federal court's decision. Nobody has shut down the NSA due to the federal court's decision. They do not have a complaint from enough people, either in a class action or single, that can show it. They have nothing to decide on. Due process has not been initiated. It's up to you in order to make these changes and to force the government in order to listen to the people. We cannot do that if you do not follow due process. The only ones in court right now are the prosecutors and the officers with affidavits and due process. And you are now a defendant trying to catch up to that due process. Good luck. You did not act. I guarantee if you do nothing, nothing is the result. There is no change. And no judge can make a decision on a crayon poster sitting in the street that was never given to him in writing with a signature on an affidavit. We need to take the anonymous masks off. We need to go in and make ourselves known. We need to follow due process. That is the power of the people. When they sit there and begin to initiate due process, this stuff stops. Eric Holder is out of office. Congress initiated due process, looking for the paperwork for the Fast and Furious. And all of a sudden, he's jumping the boat. Oh, but we claim executive privilege. Sure you do. In other words, you're going to hide a criminal act and claim it's your privilege to. Well, no, you can't. The laws that you are hiding behind are being taken down by the voice of the people. But the Congress and the federal courts need our help. And that is where this here is coming. That's where we're leading to. This is the biggest important thing of all, is the fact that you must take action, but it must be the right kind of action. Going out and chasing, whether they be white, Hispanic, black, or whatever, off the streets, is only playing into these people's hands. Oh, look! Oh, civil disturbance! Get the riot gear on! We have to get the AR-15s! Let's shoot them! They're out of control! Yeah. It is out of control. It began with the police, but our reaction is wrong. We need to take it to the federal courts. And we're going to be back after this break. Back. Here's the thing, folks. The way things are supposed to work has broken down because they've hidden how we can do these things. And there is a specific check and balance that occurs in the basically the three branches of the government. The legislation, the judicial, and the administrative. The legislation operates and clears what the administration does. They decide what they can and cannot do and what would be lawful and what is not. The administration comes up with the idea. But you see, the judicial system is the ones that decide how that legislation initiated by the administration has tried to enforce it. This is a three-check system, each one of them keeping track of the other, in a legal binding that puts any one of these people in prison. It is a criminal act. It is what is referred to as a warring against the Constitution. Here's what it says in case law. And it may sound cliche to you. It may be, very familiar. But we'll start at the top in how all rights are affected. If you remove one right, you removed them all. And this is what it says. Warnick versus Pecos County, Texas. 11th Amendment does not protect state officials from claims for prospective relief when it is alleged that the state officials acted in violation of federal law. That says it all. Okay? But there's other particular ones that you may be interested in. If I do not understand the government to contend that it is any less bound by obligation than private individual would be, it is not the function of our government to keep the citizen from falling into error. It is the function of the citizen to keep the government from falling into error. That means it is our decisions and our failures that is creating and allowing this government. Everything that these two agencies do has to be funneled through our court system. And it has to be decided on how these laws are to be enforced. In all reality, there is a Second Amendment. We all have the right in order to bear arms. So why is it such a life-threatening thing if a person has a rifle slung over their side in public? It is our right to do that. What makes it dangerous is a police decision. All citizens are armed if all citizens have the right to bear arms. Now, you can sit there and throw in some exclusions. Maybe I would agree with you with, violent acts, where people were kidnapped using guns, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep that guy away from a gun. Yeah, I can understand that, but that's done by due process. And there is a way of restoring that due process as well in order to sit there and retrieve your rights. Many states have these exact provisions on how to do that. Well, the thing of it is, the states that do not are still bound by the exact outline of how to do that, how to file a grievance, how to sit there and address and challenge these laws. It is our decision and our right to do that. So let's hide that part of it. And let's grab some signs and go into the street. It's not going to have an effect, but as soon as you walk in the door of that federal building and you file a complaint, whether you were hit by a stray bullet, whether you were trying to guard two children in a situation that the police had escalated, whatever your story is, right on down to, you know what, I would have went out there, but the police are just too damn dangerous, can be filed and must be accepted by the federal judge and must be accepted by the federal authorities placed in order to uphold these laws. That is the problem with America, folks. It's not so much that we're an overly violent people. It's the fact that we have lost our way in saying we are the people. That's the biggest problem. We are the people. we need to also consider the fact that we have people that are good people actually in these units on the ground. We can create some conspiracy theory that anybody that would uphold the law has been carefully removed, and to a degree that may be true. But to a further degree it may be false. That may not be why these things are happening. The reason why we're happening is because we haven't been able to give those good people a way to defend us either. Police officers that are in the street violating the Constitution have failed to realize the fact that this is the world their children will belong to. There is no exemption. As soon as we start putting these things in place, we lose them. All of them. The eight First Amendments are all equally the same. That's what the Supreme Court decided. And people aren't aware of that. That should be high school education. But it isn't. That's another topic for another day. Common Core in Illinois, they sit there and said that the Second Amendment has a provision in order to that you could actually have a weapon as long as you license it. Yeah, they have to register their weapon. Doesn't say anything about registering a weapon in the Second Amendment. But why is the Common Core trying to sit there and teach that to our children? It's because they're trying to take that right away. They're trying to make us forget. Somebody is. They're closing the doors on us. And the only thing we have to do is decide to walk through them and put these things that we call law into action. And give a judge a chance in order to sit there and look at this. I'm not defending nor denying. I do not know. I was not there when Brown got shot. And with the recent behavior and the irresponsible public responsibilities that these people have completely, utterly failed in their duties. But they were enabled to. For those that abuse it, they were protected. For those that try to uphold it, they're singled out and says, "What? You're questioning the system?" Yeah, we are. But we're doing it the wrong way if we got crayon boards in the streets, folks. When we try to make an actual change, these things must be done by due process. Otherwise, it's just violence. And that's what we need to stop. That's what we're complaining about, is the violence. Violence toward us, violence toward them, violence to those, violence to us. Whether it's direct or indirect, it affects everybody. Biggest point, I guess, would be this whole thing doesn't have to come down in violence. It shouldn't be used. We haven't used the tools in front of us. If you have a legitimate argument and there has been a genuine wrong done, the whole point of this episode has been to point out both extremes. We have good people on the ground. We have good people in the administration. We have good people in the judicial. We have good people in legislation. I don't know where some of these ideas come from. These people have been opposed to them for a long time. But their voices have been silenced because they do not have the public support in writing. if you really want to make a difference, we have people in place, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter. These people want to do their job and they want to do it properly. It doesn't have to be done by criminal charges for everybody go to jail. Because again, that removes the reason from the actions that we take. The right action is in court. If you're going to make a difference, drop the guns, put them away. This matter is a matter that can be settled in court. I do not own a gun. I do not carry a gun, and I don't believe in weapons. But it is my right, in order to live that way. It is not my right to infringe on someone else's right. Just simply because I have a belief. It is a way that we choose to believe. It is a way of life that doesn't require weapons. And we choose that. That doesn't mean that you infringe upon other people's rights. That's where this whole thing has gone wrong. If you draw a circle around yourself, and anyone comes within that circle, you are sharing and respecting each other's rights. And that is the whole intent here. That is where our Constitution was based on, is just that simple fact, is there is an interaction. Some of these things can be criminal if you disregard someone's life, if you disregard someone's liberty. And that's equally applied. This has nothing to do with race. This has everything to do in the type of government that we would choose to have. It's always been our choice. I guess it's up to you and me and anyone else that would agree that the law simply should be upheld. That's all. It's just done the right way, with the original intent. I'm not the one that has created any of the opinions I shared today. The U.S. Supreme Court has. The question is whether or not, as a people, we are going to make a peaceful solution and settle it in court. It does not cost anything in order to file a complaint unless you are filing a civil lawsuit. The court would ask $400 for you to do that. Well, the process asks for it. You can file a poor man's affidavit, and there is a waiver that you can get for that $400 charge, as well as possible representation even in a federal civil court. And there is plenty of assistance for these things. All we have to do is ask for or use them. It's there. So basically, folks, please keep up the public awareness. But until we enter a process that is referred to as due process, we will perpetually be in this state of chaos. And it will be enforced as a state of chaos. Thank you. May God be with you. Bye-bye.